Hi, this is Team Liquid's Monk, and I'm here with EG.Suppy, who just went through to the round of 16 from bracket play in the WCS Grand Finals. He went through Calm 2-1 and then Vibe 2-0. Could you describe your first games against Calm? I noticed you went mutalisks in every game. Could you describe what happened there, basically?
First game against Calm, I was a little bit nervous, and it was pretty stressful because there's a lot of people rooting for him. Obviously, he was the sole Chinese representative, so everybody was behind him and supporting him. And I remember I was losing that game, and every time something bad happened to me, I could see the crowd just erupting in cheers and stuff. So I mean, that was a little bit of pressure that added on to how I played that first game. But he outplayed me the first game for sure. It was a little bit confusing because I think the North American scene and the China scene has sort of a different metagame. So I wasn't totally sure what he was doing the first game, so I kind of overreacted, thinking he was all-inning me, but he actually wasn't. But I lost the first game. The second game I came in pretty focused. And the third game he did the same thing that he did in game one. And so this time I knew what to anticipate and what he was going to do. I didn't overreact. And instead of building 6 spines like I did in the first game, I built 2. And so I ended up winning that game. But yeah, it was definitely pretty intense playing him because I could see the crowd in the background really, really cheering for him.
Yeah, so you're Chinese, right? So do you think if you hadn't played against Calm, some of the crowd would be very much more in your favor?
Yeah, I definitely think so. And I actually feel like I had a sort of missed opportunity because after the interview, or during the interview after the game, I didn't say anything in Chinese, but I think I really should have. I think the crowd would have liked that.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing as you were going. I actually said something in Chinese. Well, they're asking if any Americans were here, and I was like, "Hey, I'm an American." And they're like, "Oh, you're an American?" I'm like, 对，我是美国人. Yeah. So your next game was against Vibe, and that was an easy 2-0. It wasn't played on stage, so we couldn't see it. Could you describe how those games went for people who didn't see it?
First game, it was basically me going Muta and him versus going Infester. And I had a Overseer that I made. I didn't drop a Changeling because I saw he was going Infester. And I contaminated his Infestation Pit right before his Pathogen Glands finished. So he timed out all his Infestors to come out when Pathogen Glands finished.
Oh.
But they came out...
That's huge.
Yeah, because it was contaminated. So they came out without any energy. And so my Muta sniped 5 Infestors for free. Otherwise they would have actually all died because I was all clumped up. But that ended up basically winning the game right there. And then second game, he went for some really, really heavy baneling aggression, which was really effective actually. But then he kind of kept sending lings over the map after I had started to stabilize a little bit. And eventually I was able to push him back and deal some damage and then take the game from there.
Yeah, that first play you described with the contaminating the Infestation Pit, that could be like a Pimpus play, right? Is that something you try to strive for in every ZVZ?
I mean, it's something I've been working on in ZVZ if I know they're going Infestors. So I do it in practice sometimes. So I thought it was kind of cool that I was finally able to use it in a tournament game. I actually did learn it from someone else, Scarlett, because she used it against me back when I played her for some matches. But now I've started to incorporate it into my play, and it's a really, really cool trick.
Okay. Well, a lot of Americans have been doing really well in this tournament lately. You getting out, and then Illusion is going to play Phoenix, and he's probably favored to win there. And then Idra has a lead against Stefano right now, and he might close the game. Who else do you know?
Inser.
Oh, Inser, yeah.
He is poised. I think he's going to take out Levin, and then he'll face the loser of Lowerly and Lucifron. So hopefully he can get out of his group there. And then Vibe will be facing against Vortex, who he already beat earlier today, actually. So hopefully he'll be able to beat him again and increase our American representation here.
Why do you think Americans are doing so well? Most people going to this tournament would think, hey, the Americans have no chance. North Americans have no chance. So what's up with that?
I think maybe some people just underestimate the North American scene, and I don't think the gaps between each scene are actually as big as a lot of people try and portray them to be. For example, we just saw Titan take out 2 really strong Koreans. He took out Startail Curious and CJ Antis Hero. and apparently he played really, really great against them. So I think the gaps between each region are not nearly as big as they are. So that's why we see North America, they're doing pretty well this tournament.
And as we're doing this interview, I see that I think Idra has just beat Stefano, so he'll be advancing to a group play as well, or to bracket play as well. But moving on to less of the tournament, you're Chinese, right? So have you been to Shanghai before? Have you been to China?
Yeah, I've been to China a lot, actually. Been to Shanghai quite a few times. But it's still kind of a unique experience because I'm coming here for a tournament, which is really cool. And I've never been here in the fall before. It's always been in the summer when it's just like blistering heat and just really, really hot. So it's really cool. Actually, some of my relatives came here kind of just to check it out, and that was pretty cool. And yeah, my mom's from Shanghai, so I actually have a lot of relatives, and I'm hoping to see my grandma later, maybe tomorrow too.
Oh, that's really cool. I know one of the reasons Hotbit didn't want to come to this tournament was that he didn't want to visit his family. So you're a good son. Or your family couldn't hope for a better son, I guess. Well, so I know last tournament at MLG, your parents came with your brother, right?
Yeah.
So is your family here? They're your aunt or? Okay, they're your aunts and uncles.
Yeah.
Do they have a similar reaction or?
I'm not too sure. They just stayed here for a little bit just to say hi. They didn't really understand what was going on. They just saw a lot of people, so they thought it was really cool that I was here for a video game competition. And also a couple of my cousins came as well, and they sort of knew what was going on. So yeah, I think they thought it was interesting for sure.
So you're currently a student at Berkeley, right? So you came here later than everyone else? Was it because you had classes and you had to delay them? Yeah?
Yeah, so basically I wasn't going to be able to come to this event if it happened on a Friday. But thankfully Blizzard chose to have it on a Saturday, so I was able to come. I'm already missing 3 days of school, which is like pretty big deal, but a lot of my classes are recorded, so I'm gonna just watch them online later and hopefully just catch up a lot after this week. And the main classes I'm missing 3 days of Chinese. Okay. But I like convinced my teacher. I was like, hey, I'm going to China. I can like practice my Chinese. And actually, I really have. I was able to practice my Chinese. I talked with the taxi drivers and stuff, and like I talked with Com a lot actually too. So I've been able to practice Chinese. So it's definitely a really cool experience.
I heard Inter complaining that he wanted to come on Friday too, but he talked to Blizzard and they said, no, you have to come on Wednesday because we need photos and everything. And he was like, EG, and like they must have pulled some loopholes, right?
I don't know. I mean, I let Blizzard know like as early as possible. I was just like, I cannot do it unless I can come as late as possible. And I think Inter, because Inter originally was fine coming earlier anyways, and then afterwards he realized it'd probably be better to come later, but I think Inser's still fine with it. I talked to him, he said, oh, it's freshman year of college, it's okay, so he seems to be fine with it. So all right.
Well, I noticed because you came so late, I noticed you were yawning the whole time in your first series against Com, and in fact some of the Chinese fans were like laughing at you because your face was all blown up on the screen and your mouth was wide open like when you were yawning before the games. Did you notice that, and is this jet lag going to affect you in the future?
I didn't really notice it until you brought it up earlier, but I think I did get a good amount of sleep on the plane, so I was pretty happy about that. I bought one of those Unuk pillows, and that actually helped a lot. And then yesterday I got a good like 8 hours of sleep. So I mean, I went to sleep at like 10:50 yesterday. I woke up at like 7:30. Okay. So I got a pretty good amount of sleep. I think I was probably just a little bit tired because it was early in the morning, and also maybe I was a little nervous, so I was just like yawning. I don't know. But overall, I think jet lag is actually not as bad as I thought it'd be, just because I was able to get a lot of sleep on the plane. So
you're one of the very up and coming players. Or you're already coming, or you're already here, I would have to say. So you were not that well known a few years back. In fact, I heard you were getting coached by some people. Is that right?
I was never coached by people, but back when I was playing Brood War, I was pretty bad, and every season I got a little bit better. But yeah, on Team Liquid, my history was basically like I did these commentaries a long time ago. when my voice was still really high-pitched. Everybody hated it because I was like D- on an iCup. So I think that's what a lot of people's impression of me was.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So, well, some people might want to know why are you so successful? You have school, so you obviously do this part-time, and you don't have as many time as the full-time people. What's your secret? Why can you make it so high when other people playing full-time can't break into WCS or even the qualifier tournaments?
I don't know. I think some people require more practice than others. And for me, I'm a person who does require a lot of practice. I feel like I could do a lot better with more practice. But I don't know. I think maybe my fundamentals just from Brood War. I'm definitely a very mechanical-based player. I don't think my decision-making is, stellar or anything, but my mechanics I've always been pretty fast since I played Brood War for so long. So I think that helps me have solid fundamentals coming into StarCraft 2, and that allows me to, I don't play a ton, but the amount I do play is enough to keep me at a competitive level.
And lastly, I have to ask you about, guess what, Infestor Broodlord. What do you think about that? Do you think it's viable for Terrans and Protosses to go into the late game with Raven's Heatseeker missile or Vortex against Broodlords? And what do you think about the proposed changes that Blizzard is making with Infestors? They're looking to a lot of things. Like, what do you think would be the best fix for Infestors?
I think Terrans and Protoss can compete with Zergs at late game, but it's definitely at a disadvantage. It's sort of the same way, I think Protoss has an advantage mid-game, but I mean, it's not like Zerg loses all the time mid-game. Sentry Immortal pushes are pretty strong though. But, they can compete at the late game, but they do have a slight disadvantage. And you kind of the Broodlord Infestor army is pretty strong, so you have to kind of avoid it and kind of pick apart at the Zerg and then finally try and do a big engage. I really just don't like how I feel like Zergs are kind of forced to do it. There's no other option at all. Like, you can't keep going roaches. That'd just be terrible. So I don't think Zerg really has an option to not do it. In terms of balance, I know Blizzard proposed to make a projectile. I think that's a really good idea, because that sort of gives people, it makes it harder to use the Infestor event, essentially. But I don't think they should do straight up nerfs to fungal, like damage nerfs or whatever, stun nerfs or whatever. What I think they should do instead is buff Terran and Protoss late game spellcasters instead. Because the thing, I think Blizzard has a mentality of just like, nerf, we're going to just keep nerfing everything. But at some point, everything gets nerfed to oblivion, and everything just becomes really stale, like everything's really weak and really boring. Whereas in Brood War, everything was super imbalanced, but they were all so imbalanced that it balanced out. So I hope instead of nerfing the Infestor, they consider buffing the other races units instead.
I know I said finally before, but finally, do you know who you're going to play in the next round, and what are your prospects for the rest of the tournament?
Next round, I play the second place winner of Group G, which is, I'm not sure who it is yet, but it's probably Inser, Loeli, or Lucifron. I'm hoping it's not Lucifron because I haven't practiced ZVT nearly as much because there's only 4 Terrans at this tournament. But Loeli, I would be down to face, and Inser, I think, would be good. And I think I have compared to a lot of other people, I have a relatively easy road. So I'm hoping I can take advantage of it and make it far in this tournament.
Okay, yeah, I heard when I was doing an interview with Inser, he said he was really struggling in ZVP, PVZ in comparison to the other races. So yeah, he might be a good option. So that concludes our interview. I would like to give you some time to plug sponsors or shout outs or anyone.
Yeah, I'd just like to say thank you to all my fans, and thank you to my team Evil Geniuses and everybody who supports Evil Geniuses, including our awesome sponsors, Raid Call, Intel Extreme Boards, Steel Series, Monster Energy, Kingston HyperX, Beyond Gaming, Sapphire, and Inwin. Thank you so much for sponsoring us, and follow me on Twitter at EG.Suppy.
This has been Monk from Team Liquid, and this concludes our interview with Suppy. Check out more coverage at teamliquid.net.